One day she's all over you, texting first, making plans, laughing at things that aren't even funny, looking at you like you're the only man in the room. And you start thinking, okay, this is real. This is going somewhere. You let your guard down. You lean in. You start imagining a future with this woman. And then out of nowhere, the energy flips. She starts taking hours to reply. Her messages shrink down to 2 words. She stops asking about your day. She stops showing up the way she used to. And now you're the one initiating everything. You're the one carrying the conversation. You're the one trying to keep something alive that she already seems to be walking away from. That contrast messes with your head. Because it's not like she told you she lost interest. She didn't explain anything. She just slowly faded. And that slow fade is worse than a clean rejection, because at least rejection gives you closure. This gives you nothing but confusion and a phone you keep checking every 10 minutes, hoping she'll come back to who she was before. So you start running through every possibility. Maybe you said something that turned her off. Maybe you were too nice. Maybe you showed too much emotion too early. Maybe there's another guy. Maybe she was never serious to begin with. And the more you think about it, the more desperate your next move becomes. You want to send that long message. You want to ask her straight up what changed. You want to fix it. But deep down you already feel it slipping and you don't know how to stop it. Here's what I need you to hear. This isn't random. This isn't bad luck. And in most cases, this isn't even about something you said. What happened is the emotional dynamic between you and her shifted. The balance of power moved. In the beginning there was tension. There was uncertainty. She wasn't sure how much of you she had, and that made her want more. But somewhere along the way you removed all the mystery. You gave her certainty before she earned it. And once a woman feels like she's fully got you, the thrill of pursuing you disappears. But this can be reversed. Not with tricks. Not with manipulation. Not by pretending to be someone you're not. What I'm about to walk you through are 5 real shifts in how you think, how you move, and how you carry yourself that quietly reset the way she experiences you. These aren't games. These are upgrades. And once they click inside you, you won't just get her attention back. You'll never lose it the same way again. Think about the early days. You weren't always available. You had stuff going on. You replied when you got around to it. And that drove her crazy in the best way possible. She would send a message and actually sit there wondering when you'd respond. That gap between her reaching out and you getting back created something powerful. It made her think about you when you weren't around. It made your name on her screen feel like an event. Your attention had weight because it wasn't constant. Now look at where things ended up. You started replying within seconds every single time. You became the guy who always texts first. You became the guy who never leaves a message sitting. You became the guy who gives 5 sentences back when she gives you 1 word. And without even realizing it, you trained her to believe your attention would always be there no matter what she gave in return. That's the killer. When someone knows they can have something whenever they want, they stop craving it. It doesn't matter how genuine your intentions are. If your presence never has a gap, then your presence stops registering. You become background noise. Comfortable but forgettable. Safe but boring. And boring is where attraction goes to die. You need to understand something critical. Your time and energy are the most valuable currencies you carry. More than money. More than looks. More than any clever thing you could say. How you distribute your focus tells a woman exactly how much you value yourself. And right now you've been handing it out like it costs you nothing. So here's what changes starting today. You stop being the first to reach out every time. You stop writing essays to someone giving you bare minimum responses. You stop filling every silence with another message just because the quiet makes you uncomfortable. You let the space exist. You let her feel what it's like when your energy isn't automatically guaranteed. And when you do show up, you make it count. You bring intention. You bring presence. You say things that actually mean something instead of just keeping a dead conversation on life support. Quality over quantity every single time. This isn't about playing hard to get. This is about genuinely reallocating your focus toward things that deserve it. When your attention starts flowing toward your own growth, your own goals, your own life, instead of being poured endlessly into someone who stopped reciprocating, something shifts. She notices the vacuum. She feels the absence. And that absence does more work than 100 desperate texts ever could. That's when the dynamic starts turning back in your direction. Right now she owns your emotional temperature and you don't even realize it. When she texts you back fast, your whole day improves. When she leaves you on read for 6 hours, your stomach drops. When she gives you cold energy, you start questioning everything about yourself. When she finally throws you a compliment, you feel like you won the lottery. You've basically given her full control over whether you feel good or bad on any given day. And you know what the worst part is? She didn't ask for that power. You just handed it to her by making her the most important thing in your world. Everything else became secondary. The gym became optional. Your goals became background noise. Your boys stopped hearing from you as much. Your hobbies got pushed to the side. And slowly your entire identity started revolving around this one woman and whether or not she was giving you attention. That is suffocating for her. Not because she doesn't want to matter to you, but because when a woman becomes a man's entire reason for being happy, it stops feeling like love. It starts feeling like responsibility. Like she has to manage your emotions on top of her own. Like if she has a bad day or needs space, you're going to fall apart. That's pressure. And pressure is the opposite of attraction. She's not supposed to be your whole world. She's supposed to want to be part of a world you're already building. Big difference. Because a man who's going somewhere is magnetic. A man who's locked into his purpose, radiating discipline, stacking wins, improving himself every week, creates a gravitational pull. She doesn't feel needed in a desperate way. She feels drawn in an exciting way. So stop waiting around for her to validate you. Stop refreshing her social media. Stop analyzing her every word like it's a coded message. Stop checking your phone every 3 minutes hoping she finally replied. Get your focus back where it actually belongs. On you. Attack your fitness like your confidence depends on it, because it does. Build your career or your business with the same energy you've been pouring into someone who went cold on you. Dive into skills books, projects, anything that makes you sharper, stronger, more capable. Because here's what happens when you go dark on the neediness and visible on the progress. She starts seeing posts, hearing things, noticing you're not checking for her anymore. And that creates a question in her mind she can't ignore. Wait, why isn't he affected? Why does he seem fine? What is he doing that has him moving like this? And that question is more powerful than any message you could ever send. There's a story you've been telling yourself that's destroying your power. It goes like this. She's special. She's different. I won't find another one like her. And because you believe that story, you act like a man backed into a corner with no options. You tolerate behavior you know is disrespectful. You accept energy that doesn't match what you're giving. You let conversations die and then restart them yourself like nothing happened. You make excuses for her inconsistency. You convince yourself that patience means swallowing your standards. But let's be honest about what's really happening. You're not being patient. You're being scared. Scared that if you pull back, she'll disappear completely. Scared that if you stop chasing, she won't come after you. Scared that this might actually be your only shot at something real. And that fear leaks into everything. The way you text. The way you respond to silence. The way you overcompensate when she gives you breadcrumbs. She can feel it even if you never say the words out loud. When a woman senses you're moving from scarcity, she loses respect. Not because she's cruel. Because scarcity energy communicates low value. It says, I don't believe anyone else would want me, so I'll cling to whoever shows me the slightest bit of attention. And nobody, man or woman, is attracted to that energy. It's repulsive on a gut level. You need to flip that script completely. Not by faking confidence. Not by lying to yourself. But by genuinely expanding your world so that your emotional stability isn't sitting in one person's hands. Start talking to more people. Not to make her jealous. Not as a tactic. But to remind yourself that connection isn't rare. There are millions of women on this planet. High-quality women. Women who will match your effort. Women who won't play games. Women who will actually be excited to hear from you. When you really absorb that truth, your entire energy changes. You stop moving like you're negotiating from weakness. You stop texting like you're scared of saying the wrong thing. You stop tolerating disrespect just to keep someone around. You develop this calm, grounded vibe that says, I like you, but I'm completely fine without you. And that vibe is rare. That vibe gets noticed. That vibe flips the script. Because the moment she realizes you're not sitting around waiting for her to decide your worth, she starts seeing you differently. You're not the guy who'll accept anything anymore. You're the guy who has standards. You're the guy who walked away from what didn't serve him. And walking away from someone who takes you for granted makes you infinitely harder to replace. She goes quiet for 2 days and you immediately assume the worst. Your mind starts spinning. You draft 3 different messages and delete them all. You wonder if she's talking to someone else. You wonder if you came on too strong. You check her online status. You notice she posted a story but didn't reply to you. And that eats at you. So you send another message. Something casual. Something that pretends you're not bothered. But you are bothered. And she can tell. Every time you react emotionally to her pulling back, you're failing a test you didn't even know you were taking. Because what she's really measuring in those moments isn't whether you care. It's whether you can handle uncertainty without falling apart. Can you stay solid when things get shaky? Can you keep your composure when you don't have all the answers? Can you exist confidently without needing constant reassurance? Or does your whole world tilt the second she stops giving you attention? Most men crumble. They text more when they should text less. They ask for explanations when they should just observe. They try to force clarity when they should sit in the ambiguity like it doesn't faze them. And every reactive move they make chips away at whatever attraction was left. Because women are not drawn to men who need their hand held emotionally. They're drawn to men who can stand firm when the ground shakes. So when she goes cold, you do the exact opposite of what your panic tells you to do. You don't chase. You don't explain. You don't ask what's wrong. You let the silence sit. You let her feel the space. You continue living your life like her distance didn't collapse your entire sense of self. And that takes serious internal strength. Not ego. Not games. Actual emotional discipline. Silence from a grounded man speaks volumes. It says, I noticed you stepped back and I'm not going to beg you to step forward again. It says, I value myself too much to chase someone who's acting unsure about me. It says, I'll be here doing my thing, and if you want back in, the door is open, but I'm not holding it open forever. That kind of energy is rare. Most men don't have it. And because it's rare, it stands out. It makes her pause. It makes her reconsider. And if she does come back, don't rush to give her everything she had before. Let her feel that something shifted. Let her feel that your energy isn't as easy to access now. Not out of spite. Out of self-respect. Because a man who lets someone come and go freely without any consequence will never be taken seriously. But a man who clearly values his peace becomes impossible to forget. You can learn every strategy in the book, but if your core is weak, none of it sticks. You'll do well for a week, maybe 2, and then the moment she throws you a little attention, you'll fold right back into the same patterns. Over-investing. Over-explaining. Accepting less than you deserve. That's because techniques don't hold up under pressure. Only a solid internal foundation does. And most men simply don't have one. Your frame is how you see yourself when nobody's watching. It's what you believe you're worth when you're alone at night. It's the line you draw in the sand and whether you actually defend it when someone tests it. And trust me, it will get tested. She'll go distant. She'll give mixed signals. She'll cancel last minute. She'll give low effort and see if you still give high effort back. Every single one of those moments is her subconsciously checking if your standards are real or just performance. If you cave every time, if you let disrespect slide, if you adjust your boundaries just to keep her around, then you're teaching her exactly how to treat you. You're showing her that your frame collapses under the smallest amount of pressure. And once she knows that, the respect disappears. You become easy, predictable, safe in the worst way. A man she can come back to whenever she feels like it because she knows you'll always be there waiting. But a man with a real frame operates differently. He doesn't bend himself into shapes to keep someone interested. He doesn't lower his standards because he's afraid of being alone. He doesn't tolerate inconsistency just because the person is attractive. He moves through the world with a quiet certainty that says, this is who I am and this is what I require, and if that doesn't work for you, then we're not aligned. No anger. No bitterness. Just clarity. Building that frame starts with brutal honesty. Look at your last few interactions with her. What did you tolerate that you shouldn't have? Where did you compromise yourself? Where did you give more energy than you were receiving? Write it down. Stare at it. Then decide that version of you is done. You're not him anymore. From this point forward you have standards, and those standards don't negotiate. When you live from that place, when your self-respect becomes non-negotiable, people feel it immediately. Not just women. Everyone. Your posture changes. Your voice steadies. Your decisions get clearer. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop performing. You just exist as a man who knows his value. And that kind of presence doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. It just is. And women recognize that energy because most men don't carry it. That's what makes you unforgettable. So here's where it all comes together. She pulled away and it shook you. That's fine. You're human. But what matters now is what you do next. You don't send the paragraph explaining your feelings. You don't double text hoping she'll finally respond. You don't sit around analyzing her stories and online activity like a detective looking for clues. You step back. You breathe. You refocus on the only person you can actually control. Yourself. Everything I shared with you today isn't about winning her back. It's about becoming the kind of man who never finds himself in this position again. A man whose attention is valuable because he doesn't throw it at everyone. A man whose life is full because it doesn't revolve around one person. A man who knows his worth isn't determined by whether someone texts him back. A man who stays calm when things get uncertain. A man whose standards are built into his bones, not just words he says when he's feeling strong. That man doesn't chase. He attracts. That man doesn't beg. He walks. That man doesn't crumble when a woman tests him. He passes the test without even trying because he's already solid on the inside. And here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. She might come back. She might not. But either way you'll be fine. Better than fine actually. Because when you lock in on your growth and stop giving your peace away to people who haven't earned it, your whole life upgrades. Your energy shifts. Your confidence rises. And the people who didn't appreciate you before start noticing what they lost. So let her feel your absence. Let her wonder what happened to the guy who used to be so available. Let her realize that version of you is gone. And while she's figuring that out, you'll be somewhere else, leveling up, becoming someone even you didn't know you could be. If this hit different for you, then subscribe right now. This channel is about building the kind of man that high-quality women never want to walk away from. Not through manipulation. Not through tricks. Through real transformation. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.